The image that keeps getting stuck in my head is Drew lying there, trapped inside his own body, maybe hearing more than anyone realizes, maybe understanding everything, and not being able to do a single thing about it. There is something about that kind of silence that feels worse than screaming. And I know, I know maybe I am thinking too much about this, but I cannot help feeling that General Hospital has been letting that silence build for a reason. Drew has not just been a victim. He has been stored away, hidden, managed, controlled. And when someone like Drew is pushed that far, I do not think he just wakes up and asks for justice. I think he wakes up already halfway into revenge. I keep going back to the idea that Willow may have underestimated him because everyone underestimated him. That might be the real danger here. Willow and Nina may have believed the paralysis, the drugging, the careful timing, all of it had made Drew powerless. Sidwell may have believed the same thing. But there is a difference between someone being helpless and someone being harmless. Drew may have been helpless for a while. I do not think that means he became harmless. And now there is this possibility that Nina has gone too long without giving him whatever kept him locked in that bed. That detail does not sit right with me. It feels small at first, almost like a logistical mistake. But in soap language, small mistakes are usually doors opening. Maybe Drew's body starts coming back before anyone notices. Maybe his mind has already been back for longer than they think. Maybe he has been listening, watching, counting patterns, waiting for the exact moment when everyone around him gets comfortable enough to slip. I can picture it too clearly, and that is what bothers me. Drew waking up in stages, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly enough to realize he has a choice. He could expose Willow. He could expose Nina. He could go straight to the police and say what happened. But would that be enough for him now? I am not sure it would be. Because if Drew truly knows everything Willow did, if he knows about Sidwell, if he understands how long this went on, then the truth may not feel big enough anymore. The law may not feel sharp enough. That is where this theory gets darker for me. Willow already escaped one kind of accountability. Even if Drew has evidence connected to the shooting, there is this ugly sense that the system may not be able to touch her in the way he wants. And I can see Drew realizing that. I can see him thinking that a person like Willow, someone who looked innocent for so long, someone people protected, someone people excused, might never truly pay unless the crime is impossible to explain away. I may be wrong, but I do not think Drew wants a confession. I think Drew wants a cage. And that is where Brennan becomes the piece I cannot stop thinking about. If Drew disappears, if he manages to leave the hospital bed and hide somewhere no one can find him, then what does he do with that freedom? He does not just run. He recovers. He watches. He rebuilds himself. And maybe during that hidden stretch, he finds out Brennan is being held too. Maybe he learns Brennan has been drugged in a similar way. Paralyzed, silenced, turned into another living secret. That connection feels too dangerous to ignore. Because if Drew discovers Brennan, he is not just discovering another victim. He is discovering a mirror. And mirrors can do strange things to hiding. They can bring compassion, yes, but they can also bring rage. Drew might look at Brennan and see proof that what happened to him was not some isolated betrayal. It was a system, a method, a pattern. And if it is a pattern, then Drew may decide he has permission to turn that pattern against the people who used it. There is something about this that does not feel right to me. And maybe that is exactly why I believe it could happen. Drew could decide Brennan is not just a man anymore in this plan. He becomes evidence. He becomes leverage. He becomes the kind of tragedy that cannot be ignored. And that is horrifying because it means Drew's revenge could cross a line he can never come back from. What if Drew does not want Brennan rescued? What if Drew wants Brennan dead? I hate even putting that together because it sounds too cold, too calculated. But Drew has been living inside a nightmare where people he trusted or at least knew were making decisions over his body. If he has been conscious for any part of it, if he has been aware, while Willow and Nina kept him trapped, then I do not know what that does to a person. I do not know how much of the old Drew survives that. Maybe enough survives to plan. Maybe not enough survives to stop himself. The truth could be more complicated than it looks. Drew may tell himself he is serving justice. He may convince himself that Brennan is already doomed, that the real monsters are Willow and Nina, that one death could finally expose the whole thing. And that is how people become frightening on soaps, not because they suddenly wake up evil, but because they start calling revenge by another name. I keep coming back to the syringes, the fake evidence, the idea that Drew could create a scene so perfectly shaped around Willow and Nina's past crimes that no one questions it. If Brennan dies with traces of that paralysis drug around him, if the police find the right materials in the right places, if Willow and Nina have already built enough resentment around themselves, then Drew may not need the truth to win. He only needs the story to feel believable. And that is the part that makes this so dangerous. Willow and Nina have burned through so much goodwill. People in Port Charles may not rush to defend them. Carly might be horrified. Valentine could get pulled into the wreckage. Sidwell could become another loose end waiting to be handled later. But by the time anyone starts asking whether the evidence is too perfect, Willow and Nina may already be buried under suspicion. I can almost hear the town's judgment before the facts even settle. Not because everyone knows the truth, but because everyone thinks they know enough. Willow has done damage. Nina has crossed lines. And sometimes, when people have already decided who you are, innocence becomes almost impossible to prove. That may be what Drew is counting on. But then I pause, because part of me wonders if Drew could really do this. Could he murder Brennan just to frame Willow and Nina? Could he become that ruthless? I want to say no. I want to believe there is still a boundary inside him. But I also remember what he has endured, and I cannot pretend suffering always makes people noble. Sometimes it makes them precise. Sometimes it makes them patient. Sometimes it makes them terrifying. Maybe Drew does not see Brennan as innocent in the same way we might. Maybe Brennan's connections, his secrets, whatever he represents, make Drew feel like the world will not mourn him the way it should. Maybe Drew chooses him because the crime can be shaped around the drugs, around captivity, around Willow and Nina's existing sins. That would make Brennan the perfect victim for a frame-up, and that thought makes my stomach turn. Because if Drew pulls this off, Willow's fall will not look like a frame. It will look like karma. Nina's downfall will not look like manipulation. It will look like consequences. And maybe that is why this possible twist feels so unsettling. Drew may not need to invent a lie out of nothing. He only needs to twist truths that are already there. Willow did drug him. Nina was involved. Sidwell is dangerous. Brennan is trapped. Carly and Valentine are close enough to be hurt by the explosion. Every piece already exists. Drew would only be arranging them into a darker picture. And maybe that is the scariest kind of revenge. The kind that almost tells the truth. I cannot help but feel that if Drew does disappear and return later with calm eyes and clean hands, no one should believe that calm, not for a second. Because a man who has been silenced for that long may not come back loud. He may come back quiet. He may come back careful. He may come back with a plan so cruel that everyone realizes too late they were looking for the wrong villain. So I keep asking myself this. If Willow is finally accused of murder and if Nina is dragged down with her, will it really be because justice found them? Or because Drew decided justice was too weak and built something much worse in its place?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.